And because I didn't have a conscious contact with a higher power, my higher power became humans, other people.
Wow.
Constant in my life, those human powers failed me when I was at that lowest desperation point, and I reached out. I was in the shower and I said, God, I need you. I need you. I will do anything. There's no other person, there's no other thing. It is you, and I know it's you. Give me the strength.
Right.
You know, he showed up.
Wow.
He showed up. He showed up in the biggest way, and that's when my life really started changing.
Hello, everyone. It is Empowered Women of God. We are here for season 2. We have fresh guests, and our first guest here is Tia Thomas. She is a dear friend to me. We have a lot of things that we have been through separately and together, and so I'm so happy to have her here today on our podcast. I'm going to allow you to just share a little bit about your background, I know you're not from Houston, so just a little bit about, your upbringing and just what you've been doing before coming to Houston.
Okay. My name is Tia. I am from North Carolina, actually, the beach of North Carolina. It's a beautiful place. Highly recommend people go there. I moved to Houston a little over a year ago. And at the time didn't really understand the reason, but here a year later, it's really kind of come into play. So I grew up in North Carolina. I grew up in a very tight-knit family, a very religious family. I'm from a Catholic background, grew up in Catholic school. So God was huge in my life always as a child. I always knew who he was, always knew to pray, stand, sit, kneel, do all the things you're supposed to do. Even through high school and stuff, very, very into youth group and all that stuff, you know. As I got older, temptations come in your life. You start doing things that maybe God wouldn't agree with, and in my Catholic religion, there's a lot of shame associated with God and what your choices were, and it was just kind of black and white, heaven or hell,
Right.
And as a child, it's kind of hard to navigate that, especially being taught religion and theology and understanding both sides, the writings, the Bible, scripture, all of that, so as I got older, I just kind of I shamed myself away from God. I did. And it was, it worked for a little bit, I relied on self, just to get through. And that looked like, being an independent woman and taking care of myself, and look what I can do, and look at my career. And, I've got all these things, and I've found that I always looked for spirituality still, but it came in different forms, like a lot of energy talk, a lot of universe talk, a lot of something bigger than me, but not naming it God, right? Because the shame around it was just too much, and I didn't know how to get back there. Because of that, it led to different things, relationships, people, and because I didn't have a conscious contact with a higher power, my higher power became humans, other people.
Wow.
And I think a lot of women could probably relate to that if they're honest with themselves. It doesn't have to be necessarily like a man or a woman partner that you're in a relationship with. It could be your parents. It could be your boss, your job. It could be whatever gives you that validation in life that whatever you're living for, And constant in my life, those human powers failed me,
When you said seeking, your higher power in people, what did that look like?
Putting all of myself into something and and expecting a return.
Wow.
It's honestly all I knew because I was so unconnected with God altogether. So all I could get was validation through other people. It was, what my parents want for me, checking off all the boxes. I went to college. I did, I got the great job. I did all the things. So they can be proud of me, and that was what filled my cup. And then it was, you get a boyfriend, a relationship, and all I wanted to do was be that great girlfriend and subservient and just loving and giving. And, and the Bible even says, human power will fail us. Human cannot do what he will do and will always do, and it took me years to figure this out after several failed relationships, resentments, growth, failures, deep falls, and just keep up and down to finally get to a place of that pure desperation where there's no other human
that can help. They cannot.
It cannot. It was
God
could not. And at this point, God was such a stranger to me. I was going through some really, really hard time in my life.
Right.
I won't go too hard into that, but it was just a very trying time in my life. And I fully believe that God sent Raydeen in my life. I call her my earth angel a lot. And I've told her this. She spoke to me through God and told me she had a message from God. And nobody had really done that to me in at least 15 years because I had taken myself away from the church. I had taken myself away from all these things. So there wasn't anybody I was really allowing in my life to speak to me like that. And she came and she told me that she saw me and she saw that I was struggling and she saw kind of the spiritual deadness in my heart.
Wow.
And when she said it, it sparked something in me that I didn't know really even lived anymore. And it was that little bit of strength. It was that God strength. And it's all miracles. These are small miracles that happened one after another, to call out to him and ask for his help.
Right.
And and I know you know the story. And as soon as I did, the moment I did, when I was at that lowest desperation point and I reached out, I was in the shower and I said, God, I need you. I need you. I will do anything. There's no other person. There's no other thing. It is you. And I know it's you. Give me the strength.
Right.
He showed up.
Wow.
He showed up. He showed up in the biggest way. And that's when my life really started changing.
I'm looking at you and it's just everything's coming back in the moment when I first met you. And I did tell you we worked at the same restaurant. And I sensed something with you, a hard worker, dedicated woman, a woman that just wanted something out of life. I felt that instantly. And I remember, you were just on my radar just by how you were just being a servant leader. You just showed up in ways that I was just impressed with without really knowing you. Mm-hmm. And I know when we connected more deeply, it was just from giving a ride home.
Right.
And when the story started to evolve in terms of what you were going through. And because I had just moved here as well, I was similarly had some of the experiences that you have moving to a new place where you don't know anyone, you don't have family, you're not sure about what's happening in the next couple of months. Financially, you're trying to transition into a job that you're getting paid less and figuring it out. But I wanted to just backtrack a little bit to your reason for coming to Houston. What was your driving force for coming to Houston?
Originally, it was a man. It's a man. So there we go back to the human power thing, just to be honest. And I hope that this can touch or somebody can relate that's listening to this. Came down wanting to be a complete supportive girlfriend and supporting a man's dream and leaving my family and everything else and coming down here. Within 4 months of being down here, he left, and I was left completely alone and trying to navigate everything on my own. And now when I look at that, that was completely God, and I laugh at it now because it's like, my God, he's so funny.
Right.
He's got a sense of humor, and he gives me signs, and when I don't listen, he moves things. He moves things, and it never looks like, it's always what I'm praying for,
Right.
but it's never delivered the way that I think it should be delivered.
No.
I was praying for peace, I was praying for strength, I was praying for happiness, I was praying for serenity, and none of those things could have happened in the situation that I was in. Ever.
Right.
And it took a long time to see that, but that's kind of where that all came from.
One of the things that personally I saw, and I think this will help a lot of people, is understanding how you came here to Houston. You came here because of a man.
Mm-hmm.
That relationship ended when he left, and left you really on your own, high and dry.
Mm-hmm.
As you just got here, you were left with taking care of all the bills on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You just started working at the restaurant that we met, and so finances weren't there. It was a tough place. You're going through heartbreak. You're going through, how am I going to do all of this on my own? You don't have a car, because he took the car, right?
He did.
He took the car.
Yeah.
And so
it's walking 4 miles to work.
Walking 4 miles, like that,
yeah.
A lot of people sometimes don't understand that the struggle that we're going through, it's temporary. And I'm happy to say that yours was temporary,
right.
because, you had people intervene, myself and some others intervene. But what was that like? What was Tia going through?
It was a very dark place. It was a very dark place. All my self-esteem and confidence was out the door. I just knew that I had to survive, right? So I just went into that survival mode. And that was absolutely God standing with me when I wasn't even recognizing him yet. He was giving me that strength to show up, to smile at work, to walk the 4 miles, right? To keep going, to walk to the food pantries, and to, all those things. I started kind of looking for relief in drinking. I was drinking, and it isolated me very much so from people and love or self-love or anything like that. So in those tough moments, in those moments of walking in despair and not having finances or answers or anything, that's when you kind of came in and were planting those little mustard seeds of God, right? You just kept saying his name, kept saying God, kept saying God, kept saying, and then it started kind of in my head, right? That God, and the prayers, we'd pray together, and those small little things led to me calling out to him and wanting to do something different. So in the midst of that, I knew that I was putting again my everything into drinking. I would, it would make me feel better. I would feel like I could do something, that I could show up at work, that I could get through the day, that I could, it was my comfort at the time.
Right.
I felt like I deserved it because I was going through so much pain, and that's just that obsessive mind that, on the wrong thing. Yeah, it was. And so with those little patches of God coming in the middle and asking for his help, he gave me the strength and the resource to change and ask for help in a different way.
So before you go into that, because I was about to ask you, do you remember the conversation we had that night when I dropped you home?
I do.
It was a very hard conversation for me, but I felt in that moment. And the reason I bring this up is there's so many people sometimes who sees a friend, sees someone struggling, but they're almost afraid to say the thing.
Absolutely.
It's so much easier to sit in the background and talk about it with so-and-so and like, hey, did you see her today?
Right.
Like, she looks like a mess, but not really helping.
Right.
And so that night was my intervention night.
It was.
Because I saw that you were struggling with pain and just really as you said, isolated. As you're saying these things, now I understand in the moment what was happening with you. That was a night after I spoke to you.
Everything changed.
That you.
It was a very hard conversation. She was my only friend here at the time, and I look up to Ray because she's just this ray of light. I mean, she really is. Her energy is just impeccable. And when she was strong enough to tell me that she saw me and she saw that I was struggling and that I wasn't hiding it like I thought I was. And she said out loud my biggest fear, which was, I'm not going to be able to do this for much longer. This isn't going to work, you know?
I said that.
I mean, in so many words,
Whoa!
in so many words, you know.
You gotta fact check this.
Yeah. That's what I heard. Well, that's what I, you know, I took from it was that something needed to happen. That it was seen that something needed to happen that was different. And I think I was just in a place to receive it. I think a lot of people, I think that it's important that you're in a place to receive it. I think sometimes people can take those type conversations different ways. And I think that's why friends are scared sometimes to say things.
Right.
You know, I think, but I think I was in the right mind space. You were in the right delivery method. It wasn't coming from a judgmental place. It wasn't coming from a hateful place. It wasn't coming from a, if you don't do something, I'm not going to be here place, because those fears are what paralyzed me. The fears of abandonment, fears of not being loved, fears of what you'll think about me, fears of what you'll say behind my back. All those things paralyzed me and kept me in that dark place. And through my faith, they've replaced those fears, and now I can move through those fears with God. Yeah. And it makes me more of it makes my life more fulfilling, you know,
so you don't have to give a little backstory here.
Right.
Because, you know, you're hearing her talking about faith and how God, you know, her conviction is higher, but it didn't just all happen here, because we started going to church. I started inviting you to church. You started praying as I was, you know, talking to you. I believe prayer is very powerful. I think the best prayers comes from us, you know, when we're in that space and we really need him. And there was a pivotal moment that you said to me, Ray, I have never experienced God in this kind of way. And I was just like, what? You know, I know my experience with God, but when you said it, because of everything that was happening, I knew God was doing something. But for those who are waiting on that experience with God, what was that moment of hearing from God, starting to be in tune and really walking in faith? Because this didn't just happen.
It didn't
overnight.
And I'm so glad you asked that, because I don't want to sugarcoat this or make you think it comes overnight at all. Right. You know, it's definitely a journey. It's definitely something I had to work on every day, a conscious contact with my higher power. And at first,
which is God,
right, which is absolutely God. But I didn't know how to do that. I think I even shared with you, I didn't know how to pray. The words just weren't coming out. I just had to listen to other people praying and just kind of absorb it. And it finally, with reading the Bible and going to church and allowing myself to hear these words, vocabulary started to have different meaning.
Right.
You know, the word fear had a different meaning. Fear didn't mean, oh, I'm scared, I can't do it. Fear meant those things that I'm saying, right. You know, acceptance, love, what do people think? What will they say? Will I succeed? Will I fail? And just being paralyzed in that spot of not moving.
Right. That encounter with God. What was that like? I think were you in the shower?
I was. I was in the shower. I was in the shower, and I don't know if this is, I don't know. Shower's like my safe spot. You know, it is my safe spot. And there, you know, I don't know if anybody's done this, and I hope tears in the shower. I don't know. You know, they're those deep tears, you know, those deep feelings. And
You let it all out.
And it was just him and I at that point. I mean, I was in the mirror right before the shower and it was just me. I had nobody else to call. I had alienated myself away from all family. I had resentments that were that corroded thread through my heart, like, that just kind of kept me down, just kept me down and away from God and away from. So I allowed people like you and other people in church and group settings and fellowship to love me back to God.
Wow. I love that.
That's what they did. That they loved me enough so that I could find God. Wow. And I like to be very careful with this phrase because God is not human. God was skin on is kind of how I put like earth angels, right? Just those people that were there to direct my thinking, direct my heart, direct my space, that's what got me through my spiritual journey to the point where I can today wake up, meditate like I don't even have to think about it. I've got a morning meditation and prayer that I do and it the serenity and peace that comes over my heart is just absolutely incredible. And like you said, I've never had this experience with God before in my life. And because it's a personal connection with a God of my understanding and not what somebody's trying to tell me God should be or is. It's somebody who I know and who knows me. Yes.
And I'm glad you said that because intimacy with God is so key. A lot of, as you said before, a lot of people do still seek validation through people.
Absolutely.
Even believers, Christians going into church, or they're looking to the pastors or for everything. And the intimacy, that relationship with Christ is so important. And I'm very happy that you had those encounters with him and that you had community to support you. And so I really want to hone in on community. Mm-hmm. And I know I was a part of that community, but you had a bigger community that helped you to do the hard work of getting over the drinking. Because a lot of people, we try to label things as this extreme to that extreme, but drinking, anything at all that you do to cope,
any coping,
to numb the pain, it's never good, and it becomes an addiction of sorts because that's your source, that's your comfort. Mm-hmm. So what was that transformation for you coming out of that space of drinking to numb the pain? What did that look like? What action did you take? And what was that community setting like for you? How has that evolved for you?
So I found a fellowship of people that understood me, that were the same like-minded people that understood exactly where my mind was going and what I was thinking, and that were living a life through God, that were praying and going in that direction too. And that's what delivered them from their addictions and issues as well. And not only the sobriety part of it, it's the growth and learning and cleaning up your side of the street and letting go of resentments and things that hold you away from being truly happy with God and in that space. So there was a lot of work to be done and I still is a lot of work. But I'm so happy that resource was there. These women, they loved me. Like I said, they loved me and they showed me that what the answer was and how to do it. Because when you're in a dark place and you have an addiction, whatever your coping mechanism is, you don't really understand how to do that differently.
Right.
It's not easy. It's relearning, it really is. And so these women and people loved me and showed me how to do it differently. And now I am able to give that back to other women too. And that's been the most fulfilling thing that I've got going on, at this moment. It's helping and being of service in Christ. And it's just a very fulfilling, wonderful feeling.
Wow.
It is. Yeah.
I love that we are segueing into that because the journey starts at this point, but it never remains the same. Along the way, we have our bumps or hurt, along the way, but you are now moving in to the point where you're giving back.
Mm-hmm.
You're healing still. And a lot of times people think, oh, I gotta be this, they have the imposter syndrome of feeling like, I'm still working on myself. How can I help?
I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough. Or I need to be perfect before I can put myself out there to help someone. And sometimes it's just a word. It's just a word of encouragement. It's not really anything big. So I know we spoke about you talking about mentees. You have a few mentees that you are helping, and you've been doing a lot of work. I mean, please don't shy away from just some of what you've been doing to help your community and giving back. So just share.
So the biggest thing that I've found through this whole thing is like, it's not me that's helping them; they're helping me grow. Okay. It's quite a 360. So I feel that we're very led to be thinking in self a lot, like, how this is going to help me, right? Or how I'm going to be helping, them. I mean, instead of the other way around. So it's been quite a learning experience. And I always thought that I needed a lot to help. Like I needed to be perfect. I needed to have all these things, and I don't have enough time, and it hasn't been long enough. And, I'm still trying to figure things out, but that's the growth and the beauty of it. You have to allow it to happen, and the service work has been the biggest blessing and growth spot, really. And that's what's going to keep propelling me into, where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, so. I I love you.
I love you too, girl.
I love you like my sister. Yeah. And I thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's still, listen, being through it with you, I know. And it's hard not tearing out because I know exactly what the journey looks like. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
For doing the work, for choosing yourself, for picking up the baton and running the race to the end and finishing the race strong.
Thank you.
Because I have to tell you, she has been phenomenal in getting up and showing up because she wanted that change. And so I believe she is more than qualified, more than equipped to help these women who she is now mentoring. But as we're wrapping up, I'm going to come off the less intense stuff right now. And I'll ask you this, how are you feeling for love? Are you ready for love? Are you ready to start anew? How are you feeling? What mindset are you in right now?
It's a great question, Ray. This last year has been completely about self rebuilding and in a healthy way, right? And that has to do with relationships and everything going forward and making sure that God is centered in all of that. So even with like meeting somebody randomly
here and there that, I just, if I meet somebody, I have to remember what's gotten me this far,
right? And
not losing that and what's important so that my choices next time, I can live this second reborn life because I've been reborn. This is a totally different life for me.
Right.
Completely.
Amen.
And so it's, you have to approach things differently if you want a different result.
Oh.
I've done the same thing for 40 years. Yes, I'm 40.
What does that mean? She's 40. Amazing.
It was a hard birthday this year. Not gonna lie. But I feel like it's a brand new life, something totally different. It's like a new like a chamber. My heart, I've literally, the Grinch where it shows your heart actually growing. Like I've literally felt through different spiritual experiences this year, my heart grow.
Woo.
Like in different spots. It's been conversations with you. It's been prayers with you. And you know this because we've had those talks when it's happened. It's been different moments when I'm in service. It's been different moments when I'm in fellowship. Or just me in the shower, so it's, the growth is happening and God is so good.
He is.
And his love runs deep.
It does.
It does.
And it looks so good on you.
Thank you.
That's why 40 doesn't look like 40. Well, I want to leave and end on you, whatever message you like to share to whether it's a man or a woman. I mean, I'm not, subjecting this to just us going through it. But
right.
Is there something that you'd like to
Yeah. There are wonderful resources out there to help in any sort of situation. If you connected to my story in any sort of a way, please reach out. I'm sure my information will be up here, and I'd be more than happy, anonymously, obviously, to point you in the right directions of whatever that looks like for you, and to answer whatever questions you might have, and give you the real, the non-sugar coated. It takes a lot of work. You got to want it, kind of thing. So, but I'm happy to help. And if anybody wants to be involved, I'd be happy to point you in the right direction.
Listen, I thank you so much. We will have her information out for you to connect with her. We didn't go too deep in some of the story because there's still pain points there. And, I'm just happy she came on.
I was so nervous.
To share her testimony, her story, her growth, and her journey, which is still continuing. God is going to do some amazing things with you, Tia.
Already has.
So I'm excited for that. Excited for that. And so if you were really touched by her story, as she said, just connect with her. And so thank you all for joining.
Yes,
and we will
thank
see you on the next episode. Bye.